Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rock Your Reinvention, the show that gives you the tips and tools you need to rock your own reinvention by hearing amazing stories of women who have already been there, done that, and can help you avoid the pitfalls. I am super excited to be joined today by Melissa Chernow, and she is going to be sharing her reinvention story, all about how she helps women find their voice, and of course, how you can find your voice too, and so much more. So I don't want to steal any of her thunder. I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Melissa to just give us a little introduction and tell us who she is and what she does.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karin. I'm so grateful to be here and to be connected to you and to be able to share with your community. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Chernow. I am a voice and visibility coach, and I also have a publishing company. Everything that I do is really in the name of empowering and supporting you to feel more comfortable sharing your voice. So whether that's in personal relationships or at work, whatever it is, you deserve to feel safe and comfortable and confident to speak up, to say what you have to say.
Oh, amen. I love that. Because way too many women, self included in the past, right, have been too afraid to speak up and have just kind of let it ride. And all of a sudden we wake up one day and we're like, how did I get here in my life? Like, how is this my situation? And I think a lot of it is a lack of being able to use our voice and speak up. So what you provide is a much needed service. And I couldn't think of a better person to have, the day after International Women's Day, to be on the show. So thank you for being here and spending some time with us. Also, I should say, for those of you that are watching live in Facebook, make sure you just click the little button to enable on StreamYard for us to see your name. That way, when you leave comments, and we love interaction, so if you have questions throughout this, like drop your questions in the chat, we'll know who it's coming from. Okay, so let's dive right in, because you are not always the CEO and founder of your own publishing company or a voice and visibility coach. You actually started out in philanthropy in a regular 9-to-5 job. So tell us about the moment that you knew you needed to reinvent your life. What was going on? What were you feeling?
Yeah, it's actually a very specific moment in time that I can pinpoint this to. And I was in the conference room having a conversation with my manager, and quite frankly, I don't remember what she was talking about, but I just remember this overwhelming knowing that this isn't it. This isn't where I want to be. And I was quite honestly, I was scared because I didn't know what I wanted, but I just knew that this wasn't it. And so at that point in time, I was also teaching yoga. I was also a personal stylist. I was nannying and dog sitting, right? I was doing all of these different things. And I was like, there's got to be something here. There's got to be something here.
Yeah.
And several months later, maybe almost like 8 or 9 months later, the universe did me the greatest favor. My job was eliminated.
Yes!
The company,
I love that. Mine too. Thank you, universe.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a blessing. And at least it was for me, and sounds like for you too, right? It was like, I, at that point in time, didn't have the courage or the knowingness or the confidence to make that decision for myself.
Yeah.
But the company was downsizing and my job no longer existed. And I was cool with that, right? The thing I was actually most concerned about was telling my family, telling my friends, and that's where my voice completely shrunk. And I was like, damn, I want to be able to lead myself in these conversations and say, you know what? I think this is a blessing. You might not understand that. You might not feel that same way, but I know that. And whatever this next chapter holds, I can't wait to find out, right? I don't know. Is that similar for you?
Oh my gosh, 100%. And it was so funny because every time I would tell somebody that I lost my job was eliminated. It was like, I'm so sorry. And I know people who are hiring. What about this role? I know somebody at this company. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay. This is not it for me. So yeah, I totally resonate with feeling like nobody really kind of understands that this is a blessing. They have their own preconceived notions of what it would mean for them to lose their job, and they sort of put that on top of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just listening to, I'm part of various coaching programs, and I was listening
Yeah.
to a recorded call, and one of the guest coaches said that other people, so the people in your life, will always project their limitations onto you, their perspective of what life is. So just like you said, if somebody is so scared of losing their job, they don't know what's on the other side of that, they're going to project that energy onto you. And so it's like, okay, that's cool. You can live that story. That can be your reality. And my reality can be my own as well. And it can be completely different than yours. And it can all still be okay, right? That doesn't mean there
Yes.
needs to be conflict. We can be cool with this.
Yeah. And I love just one thing before I get to my next question that you said is like, I'm part of various coaching programs. So, ladies that are listening, I want you to hear that because I know I'm telling people all the time, like, coaching changes your life. Like, I have a coach, like,
Yeah.
everybody needs a coach. But I just love that you validated that again by saying, like, I have multiple coaches. And it's because it works, right? It helps you get out of
Totally.
your own head and see the other possibilities and get over the mindset humps and all the inner critic BS that goes on, and just helps you move your life forward.
Absolutely. I mean, this could be a whole conversation
Seriously.
in itself. But each coach plays a different role, offers a different thing.
Yep.
Each community is different, right? In some communities, I feel more comfortable and safer and relaxed. And in other communities, I feel a little more stretched, a little more activated, maybe a little out of my comfort zone, but still that resonance that, yeah, this is the right place for me. So they all offer different things, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to be a part of different spaces.
I love that. Okay, cool. I just didn't want to gloss over that. So,
Yeah.
so here you are, you've lost your job. Like, did you always know you wanted to be a publisher and create stories, or how did you come into this?
Not at all, actually, and I laugh because I hated reading growing up. Like, that was the last thing I wanted to do. My mom's like, "Go read a book, Melissa." I'm like, "Reading? What?" And it was actually somebody had reframed this for me. They were like, "Maybe it's not that you don't like reading, it's just that you don't like what you're reading." And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, that is so it, because I wanna know about you. I wanna know what your life is like all the nuances, all the things that you might not necessarily lead with,
Yeah.
but are within you. And so those are the stories that I've always cared about, like networking events and conversations. Like, I don't care for like the classic type of conversation. Like, I want to know your heart. Right? And so
Yeah.
when I actually first had the opportunity to participate in a multi-author book, I loved it because it was a topic. It was called intuitive. And so it's a topic that not many people talk about, at least coming
Yep.
from corporate, right? It's like, we're not having this conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No feelings. Throw those out. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's just who I am. That's just what I care about. And so I was like, what better space to be able to offer people than just the space to be creative,
Mm-hmm.
to write, to be themselves, and to connect with other women in that way. It
Yeah.
it was a no-brainer. Once I knew about it, I was like, yes,
Right.
this is for me, but I never would have picked it at 10 years old.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important for people who are thinking about making a leap or they're in that place where they feel stuck. Like, things will just present themselves as soon as you're open to it. Things will
Totally.
present themselves, like when I was first laid off, just before I got laid off, actually, I entered a contest to win a free seat in this program to build your talk in 90 days. Well, the talk I wrote was Edit Your Life, and it ended up becoming the program for
Yeah.
my coaching business. But I didn't know at the time, oh, I'm doing this because I ultimately want to be a life coach. I just thought I'll be a motivational speaker. I just want to go out and talk and like share my
Mhm.
message with people. But once I was open to the signs and I kind of saw how the universe was playing a role, it was like, oh, well, I'm going to follow this little sign or I'm going to explore this little avenue. And sometimes I would look at something like health coaching and I was like, yeah, that's not exactly what I want to do, but I like the coaching aspect. Okay, what could that morph into? So love that you were just present to whatever was being thrown in your path. Like, hey, let me explore this. Yeah, I think I could really enjoy this.
Yeah, and something you said reminded me, it's like, I don't know what percentage of jobs will be created, like our
Mm,
kids' generation, their jobs don't even exist yet,
yep.
right? And so what a cool part that you actually get to play in being the bridge to that, in combining all of your different interests, talents, strengths, curiosities into a whole new company, into a whole new business. What, like, what? What kind of opportunity is that?
Yeah.
It just blows my mind.
And I don't think a lot of people even realize that that's a possibility. Like, wait, you mean I just can create something that doesn't already exist? And
Yeah.
that is so powerful.
Yeah, it can be a little scary too, right?
Oh,
I wanna
yeah.
honor that. There's a lot
Yeah.
of uncertainty and not knowing, and fear can come up with that, but
Yep.
it's also then how do you lead yourself through that? How do you validate what you're feeling without having to sink into it, right? It's like, okay, I can hold hands with opportunity and excitement,
Yep.
and I can also acknowledge the fear, maybe the resistance, the uncertainty, whatever it is, and I can still take one step forward, just one at a time, right?
Yes. I love that. So good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you work with a ton of authors, obviously now, female authors mainly, which is awesome. And I know we have a lot of people in this community here in Rock Your Reinvention that want to write a book of their own. And so I'm curious, what do you think is the biggest pitfall that authors fall into when they're thinking about publishing a book?
I think 2 things. One, not thinking that they're a writer or that their story is good enough to be
Yeah.
written. That is just like, we can debunk that.
Yes.
Please, like, your story does matter, and that's exactly why I started my publishing company, because I don't think publishing needs to be reserved for the people with millions and millions of followers and the biggest businesses. Like, your story matters. Even if it just impacts one person's life, and I know it's going to impact more than one person, but even if it's that one person, maybe you know them, maybe you don't. Like, what?
Yeah.
Right? And so it's the belief in self, the belief that you matter, that your story matters, that you get to have this place in this book, in this community, whatever it is. Um, and then I think that can turn into procrastination, or I'll do this tomorrow, or yeah, it's on my
Mm,
bucket list, but maybe not till, 2026 and we'll look at it
right.
then.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely heard that before from this group, like, well, I'm going to get to it. It's on my list, but not right now.
Yeah.
Maybe
Which
later.
Right, which is totally cool. I would then ask, like, where is that actually coming from? Do you feel that
Yeah.
in your body, like the resonance, the truth of that in your body? Or is that just a story that you're coming up with so that, you don't have to actually face it right now and we'll just figure it out later?
Yep, it's like that little protective shield that we put up, like, I don't wanna
Yep.
be uncomfortable, and I'll just share for those who are watching, my first book, I personally felt like was easy to write. So, The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, Penetrating Memoir, in case y'all haven't seen it, right? This was easy for me because it was a memoir. So the
Mhm.
stories were already there. They're in my head. I just have to go back and remember the little details. And I had like journals and all kinds of different stuff to turn to get that. So I didn't have to do, I don't say a lot of work. It was a ton of work to write a book, but it came easy. I am writing my next book, which is self-help. And oh my gosh, like there are days I just want to bang my head against the wall. Like I'm trying to find stats or a report or like a credible source. And I'm like not a data person. And I mean, there's just been all kinds of challenges. How do I build this thought out? Well, what are the questions that somebody reading this for the first time would have? I'm so close to it. I'm not seeing it. And it's hard. It's a challenge, but it doesn't mean we can't do hard things, right?
Absolutely, and it's also not gonna be perfect the first time around, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Like, get your thoughts on paper or on the
Yes.
computer, wherever feels most natural to you, right? Like, write the way that's natural to you. I always used to handwrite my essays. I mean, in school, we had the like, we could work in the library to type it out, and I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I need to write this out. Like, this is how my brain works. This is how this feels best."
Mm.
Now we all have laptops, accessibility, whatever.
Yeah.
Anytime I go to write a chapter or something, it's like it's just block, right? That's just not how it flows for me. So find what flows for you, explore, experiment, see what feels most natural, what feels most alive for you. And, give yourself the grace that it's not going to be perfect the first time around and it doesn't need to be.
That's right. Such good advice. These are golden nuggets. I hope everyone is taking notes.
But it's for anything, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
creating a
yeah.
course, it's like you're going to change it the next time around, or you're going to tweak something, or maybe switch the order, whatever. So,
Yeah. And that's part of the process. Like that's just part of the fun too, the journey, right? I think so many
yeah,
times we're so focused on the end state, like the outcome, but we forget to enjoy the process and the growth and the journey that happens along the way.
all about the journey.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
speaking of the journey, you're now also a voice and visibility coach. So first of all, you probably have to tell us what that means, but why, and then I really want to understand from your perspective, why do you think women struggle using their voice so much?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for asking this question. So I actually started off as a voice and visibility coach before I became a publisher.
Okay.
And while I was coaching and supporting women in this capacity, that's when I had the opportunity to share my story for the first time in a multi-author book. And I was like, it felt a little stretchy, but I also just knew in my being that this was the right next step. And so I said yes. And as I was going through this opportunity, this experience, I realized that it was the tangible experience of what we were talking about in coaching, right? Like we
Oh,
could talk all day long, but until you actually take action and are in the experience of it, you don't really have the opportunity to make the tangible, meaningful, sustainable shifts that
mm,
you're looking for. Like the experience brings up all of your stories, all of your fears, all of your what ifs, right? And that's the opportunity to really work through them. And so I was like, okay, we got to do this, right? Like
yeah.
this is just it. This is amazing. And so then I started the publishing piece of it, but I've always done the voice and visibility work, which I take a somatic approach. So a couple times in this conversation, I've mentioned resonance, like my body just knew, right? These aren't the way that I kind of describe it is that working with me is not like it's not like a public speaking approach to using your voice. Like we're
Right.
not going to have a session together and I'm not going to say, okay, now speak out, whatever, practice this, shift this, try this technique. It's actually more of a meditative and somatic approach. So
Mhm.
soma just meaning body. And so the body is our guide. When you think about public speaking, where in your body feels expanded or excited or open? Where in your body might you feel a little discomfort, uncertainty, contraction? For a lot of people, it's contraction in the throat area. It
Mhm.
can be chest starts or heart starts to race and you feel your heart pounding through your chest. You might start sweating, right? These are all cues that actually your body is leading the experience. And
Mhm.
so that's why we approach the work through the body. And so using your voice is an extension of your body, right? If I'm super, super, super nervous to talk on stage, you're going to hear that in my voice.
Mhm.
If I'm relaxed, confident, feel safe and comfortable, you're also going to hear that in my voice. And so it's really just an approach to calming the body,
Mhm.
expanding the body, affirming to the body that you are safe to use your voice. You belong in the rooms that you're in. Your voice is your greatest advocate. And so you get to use it, right? Whether you're asking the doctor a question,
Mm,
leaning into a hard conversation in relationship, whatever it is, you deserve and get to use your voice. Sometimes it's going to shake,
yeah.
right? That's
Right.
okay. That doesn't mean it's wrong or it's bad, but it's just all information that we get to use.
Yeah, and I definitely think, depending on some of our past experiences, using our voice can almost be like a trauma response, right? Because
Absolutely.
being in corporate for many years and being shut down repeatedly, especially by men, or just trying to speak to a doctor and they're like, "Oh, that's not that much of a problem," or "You're just doing it wrong," or this or that, and I'm like, "Okay, you're right. I'm the idiot. Okay, I'm just going to not bring this up now," right? And we over time, we're almost taught not to use our voice
Mhm.
by the things that we experience in society.
Absolutely. You nailed it. I couldn't have said it better myself. And I want to remind everybody that those past experiences don't actually have to inform how we go forward, how we move forward. Because whether it's in the boardroom, whether it was, your parents telling you, you're so easygoing. This is me. You're so easygoing.
Right.
Well, what was that actually? I was just people pleasing. I wasn't speaking up for myself. I wanted to go with the flow because confrontation scared me. It didn't feel safe. It didn't feel comfortable. And so, whatever you learned along the way that encouraged you to bite your tongue, to people please, to go with the flow, to say the popular opinion, even if you don't believe it, right? Like
Yeah.
that's all learned behavior, which also means we can learn the opposite. We can come back to ourselves and express ourselves.
Yeah, and it sounds like this didn't come naturally to you from the get-go. You didn't always have your voice. So how were you able to find it, or how do you help your clients find it?
Yeah, I found it actually a lot through writing. Before writing, I painted, and I find that a lot of people use creative arts in whatever way
Mhm.
to express themselves. So I'd be curious for those watching, whether live or the replay, in what ways are you already expressing yourself? Because that gets to be celebrated big time, right? Like maybe you are a spin instructor, or maybe you're taking a spin class and you just feel free to express yourself, right? You talk to the other people in the room beforehand, afterwards, right? That's cueing to your body something about that experience. Like you feel safe. You can just express yourself. You can be yourself. Notice all of those avenues: painting, drawing, um, I don't know, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and celebrate that, right? Recognize that as a win. I think so often in coaching spaces, like we join coaching spaces because we want to be better. We want to get better. We want to achieve XYZ goal. Well, what's already working, right? So
Yeah.
often we can focus on what's the missing piece or what's not working. Don't forget what is working, right?
Yes.
Like use that as a foundation, use it to grow and to continue to find experiences where you do feel like you can express yourself, because that's all cueing to your body that you're actually safe to use your voice, so that the next time you enter a conversation that maybe you don't want to have, or you're scared to actually share your opinion, or like share a new idea or a new program for your company with your boss or the corporate leadership team, that it's like, okay, what can I draw on from what my body knows is safe, what knows is safe to express myself, and actually bring it to this experience.
Oh, that's powerful. And I'm so glad that you brought up that also writing is a way of using your voice. Because I
Yeah.
just had a client yesterday and we were talking about how she struggles, but we're working on that terminology, right? To
Yeah.
share her emotions. And I was like, well, what if you didn't try to share it verbally and you actually started to write some things? Like, what could that
Yeah.
mean for your relationship? And so, yeah, just echoing that, because I think it's such an important point.
I love
So,
that. And it doesn't have to look pretty, right?
right.
You can just get it out.
Right. Yeah, and the more you do it and you have success, then that's where the confidence is gonna come from, right? Because you're
Totally.
building that stamina. Like, there's no silver bullet. Like, you just have to, as you said, have the experience of it, put it into action, put the work in, like, get it out there, and that's how you actually become better at it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So this might seem like a weird question for anybody listening who has never seen your brand, but I follow you and I love your stuff. And I always see you talk a lot about honey. So there's
Oh, yeah.
obviously some kind of natural connection with you and honey. And so I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about that and how it's played a role in your brand.
I love this question. Thank you. It's so funny because, I'm a publisher. I value words. Words hold meaning, and it's funny because I never actually growing up, I never actually liked my name, Melissa. It just like I never connected to it. I didn't feel like it was me. Until a few years ago when I actually started being myself, and then I was like, this is 100% it. And my name actually means honeybee in Greek. And I was like,
Oh,
there's something here for me, right?
yes.
And so I
Yes.
started exploring it. And, what do you do when you have a sore throat? What did your grandparents do when they had a sore throat? Take a
Yep.
spoonful of honey. It's literally salve, healing balm in the most natural form for your throat, which is the home of your self expression. And so it just kind of tied it all together for me because my personal journey has been about finding my voice and using my voice. And a lot of people think it's easy to think that your personal growth journey is about doing all these things and going out and expanding when actually it's just coming back to who you've
Mm,
always been. And so it's like if I can come back to the sweetness of honey, the calmness, the natural essence, the golden aura, all of that, like that's actually who I am. That's who you are. That's who everybody is, right? So it's about coming home to yourself, which I think is so much of a vocal empowerment journey is
yeah.
actually coming home to yourself. So it's very personal, but I also think it's, applicable.
Yeah, it's universal at the same
Yeah,
time.
totally.
100%. Oh my gosh, yes. I
Yeah.
love everything you said there. Um, and I think, something else that comes to mind here is like support, right? So yes, we need to really I call it turning inward, right? And coming back to
Mhm.
who we are and like what matters to me. But at the same time, we do need some level of support around us, especially when we're making big changes, whether it's, authoring a book or starting a business. So, for you, how have you been able to still stay true to yourself and who you are, but then also leverage support and build a support network around you?
Such a good question. And I'm laughing because I was even thinking about this morning. Um, it's a little unconventional, but one of the things, and I was having this conversation the other day with a client, one of the things that I think is actually most important is that you stop following, whether that's on social media or in real life relationships, stop investing in the places where you feel like you have to be someone other than who you actually are.
Ah,
If
so good.
you're writing a post and you're like, "Oh, wait, how did my coach write that?" Or how did this person with 5 billion followers, what did they say about this? You're outsourcing your innate wisdom right then and there. And I get that it can be uncomfortable to use your voice, right? That's why I do what I do.
Right.
And if we can take a little pressure off and just like, what would I want to say about this? What does my heart have to say about this? That's that's the gold. That's the
Yeah.
ticket. That's what's gonna magnetize people and the right people to you. So,
Mm,
joining spaces where maybe you feel some sort of resonance, you wanna be there, but you don't quite know why, that's okay. Like, you don't have
sure.
to know why. Celebrate that, right? Like, that's your body leading you somewhere. So definitely celebrate that. And I think a healthy stretch of the nervous system, a healthy stretch of what, your comfort zone is or used to be, whether that's, asking a friend or a colleague, "Hey, I found this event. Would you want to go with me?" Or going yourself.
Yeah.
Just new spaces, new experiences. I think also going back to something you loved. Like when you think about like
Mm,
prime time of your life, like the years that you loved the most. What were you doing? Who were you spending time with? What were your hobbies, the activities that lit you up? And somehow incorporate some element of that, right? Maybe it's I
yeah.
keep using painting because that's been it for me, but start painting again and just see where that takes you, right? Maybe it doesn't take you
Yes.
anywhere traditionally, right, on a journey, but like comes back to yourself, brings you back to yourself.
Oh, it does. Yeah, for me, that was dance. And I just remember the
Mhm.
first time I did popping class. I'd always wanted to learn popping and locking, but I'd never taken a class before. And I
Yeah,
wasn't any good, but my gosh, I had the biggest smile on in
I
that room.
love
And
it.
I just felt like, oh my gosh, all the broken pieces of me are just being put back together right now. And it was so, I don't know. I don't have words for it. I can't couldn't
That's
bottle that feeling, but it just was amazing. So yes, I agree. We'll
that
totally
is
take you back.
the best. And actually, one piece of advice that I got when I first started as a stylist that I have
Mm.
taken with me and will just share with all of you is that your friends don't become your clients or even your biggest supporters. Your
True.
friends don't become your clients or your biggest supporters,
Mhm.
but your clients might become your friends and will be your biggest supporters. And so looking for support where you used to might not actually yield the results or the support and relationships you desire, which is why these new spaces and stretching yourself is so, so important.
Yes. Oh gosh, I could tell you all kinds of stories. A lot of people that I thought were going to show up for my book
Yeah,
launch or for different things, they're not there. And so I had to really stop looking at them and expecting them to show up for me and go, but let's focus on who is showing up for you.
exactly.
And that's where your support comes from now. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that from you as well. Because it's going to be important for all of you amazing women out there who are watching this right now or catching the replay and you're thinking about reinventing. Yeah, that's just a great tip, something to have in the back of your head. So, speaking of advice, we're getting close to time now, but I would love to just have you speak to anybody out there who knows they want to make a change, but they don't know how to get started. What's that one piece of advice you'd like to give them?
Well, this question, based on what you were just saying, right? You have a group of women in your Facebook group, a group of women, like minded, like hearted people who already get you. They know to some extent what you're going through.
Yeah.
Use this space, right? Ask a question about building an email list or, right, whatever it is. Use this space. Start to build actual relationships with
Mm.
the people in this space and the other spaces that you're a part of that just feel like home, or you feel like you don't have to explain yourself. You can just be yourself. And I think that's across the board. You don't
Yeah.
have to explain yourself. You can just be yourself. So invest in those spaces, invest in those people. Um, I kind of lost the actual question that,
Just
that
what
you asked.
people, if you had could tell somebody who wanted to make a change how to get started, what would you tell them to do?
One, be honest with yourself.
Mhm.
Maybe it'll sting. Maybe it'll feel like the first deep breath you've taken in ages. Be honest with yourself and start with one thing, right? Like a
Yeah.
0.1% change every single day compounds in the most beautiful way. You don't have to do it all by
Yes.
tomorrow, but what is one thing that you can do? I mean, to this day, I still every morning it's like the top 3 things that are just priority for the day. And
Yes.
sometimes they're all work related. Sometimes none of them are work related, but it's like those 3 things. Sometimes it's take 3 deep breaths. Sometimes it's drink a full glass of water, right? It's like
Yep.
don't underestimate the small things.
Oh, I love that. You have given us so much wisdom today. Thank you. If people want to get to know you better, they want to work with you, they want to find your books, just let us know where we can connect with you and get more info.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my name on Facebook. You can definitely send me a message, say hello. I would love to hear from you. And then I'm very active on Instagram as well. I can add my handle to the bottom of
Yeah.
or to the comments because it's different than my name. So yeah, just say hello in the DMs and would love to learn more about you and what you're all about.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for being here today and spending some time with us. And we look forward to seeing you in the group as well. And ladies, for all of you out there, I want to wish you an awesome week. I am actually going to be taking a little bit of time off from Rock Your Reinvention. I'm having surgery on Tuesday on my shoulder. Everything will be fine, but I am going to honor my space and try to just focus on healing so that I can get back here and we can start back up in April with more amazing content. So thank you again, Melissa. And
Thank you
everyone,
so
please
much.
make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know how you liked the episode. If you have questions for Melissa, she's in the group, so you can always ask them there as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karen. This was such a pleasure. And yeah, just thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.